Hey guys, morning. At least it's morning here in Southern California. And today we have the 2020 Jeep Grand Cherokee Trackhawk. And before we get into the live Q&A, I'm going to start by saying I have a walk around video and a POV drive for this car that's already up. There will be a POV night drive on Monday along with a review. And sorry in advance, I had like YouTube double publish certain things for the review, and so I had to take those down. So sorry if you've already kind of watched the review or you just saw the notification pop up. The actual review is going to go live on Monday at 10 a.m. as they usually do for my reviews. So let's get into, well, one more thing. To ask me some questions ahead of time, I apologize. I didn't post the question on Instagram early enough yesterday, so I only have a couple questions from Instagram. But if you want to get your questions in early before these videos, just go to @MilesPerHr on Instagram and follow me there. And then if you ask me questions for this car, I will get to those first. That, or if you comment on the YouTube community page. So with all that said, all the details out of the way, let's talk about the Trackhawk. Let's see what our first question is. Christina, of course, is manning the camera.
Hello.
What do we got?
Well, first you have Gaming Master X and Andrew Parker GB returning again, and they both say hello.
Awesome. Thank you guys for coming back.
All right. First question is this. Post a video of the dashboard 0 to 60 at full throttle. The Rafael Ordaz.
Okay, so that we can do a little later in the video. You want a launch, I'm assuming, and we'll do that a little later.
We'll give it to them.
Yeah, we'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Christina's very confident. We're going to give you that launch. So we'll do that a little later, but it's very exciting, so I won't miss it.
Okay, I want to know what happens when you push the gas pedal all the way down, JJL.
Okay, so the same thing. We will do a launch video a little later in this video, and then I'm gonna have launches in the review. I don't know if I did a POV launch, but I know I put a POV launch segment in the review, so don't miss that. And Christina, let's just walk around the car so we can see. They can see the car from more angles than just the front angle. And what's our next question going to be? I know you're manning a lot of things at one time. You're just that talented.
I am. How high is
humble.
the ground clearance from Doug?
Okay. Yeah, Doug asked a few questions. Basically, the summary of his questions, I'll answer them first, and then I'll talk about what he's basically asking. But the ground clearance for the Trackhawk is only 8.1 inches. So the ground clearance for the regular Grand Cherokee is 8.6 inches, and for the Trailhawk, which is the off-road oriented version of the Grand Cherokee, not the Trackhawk, the Trailhawk is, I think, 10.8 inches, so a fair bit of ground clearance for that model, but the Trackhawk is only 8.1 inches. And Doug asked a couple other questions.
Yes. Is it trail rated?
Is it trail rated? No, it's street rated. This is not a vehicle that Jeep intends for you to take off-road. And yeah, I mean, I assume because it's all-wheel drive, because it has a little more ground clearance than, you know, a sports car, you can probably take it on you can definitely take it on like a fire road or something that's going to lead you to a campsite, and that'll probably be how you're going to use this vehicle. Do not be planning to take it off-road and be wheeling and doing all those things that you would in a traditional Jeep. Not what this is intended for. Doug knows that. He just wanted to ask the questions, which I appreciate. And what was the last one from Doug? Towing?
What is the towing capacity?
Towing capacity, 7,200 pounds. So you can definitely tow with this vehicle. That's a lot of towing capacity. So, you know, take this to your favorite campsite, bring along a rig, bring maybe a toy hauler. So you got the toy hauler and you've got your stuff that you're going to actually go off-roading in, little buggies and things like that, and dirt bikes. Bring those with you because this can tow them, but don't plan to take this off-road. It is a street-oriented vehicle.
Okay. And then we have hi from Yixuan Song Design.
Hi.
And another hi from Mallorca 043.
Hello.
And then we have horsepower question mark from that one car nerd.
Horsepower question? I'm assuming you mean, what is the horsepower? Yes, the horsepower of the Trackhawk is 707. Let's actually show you the engine while we're talking horsepower. The engine isn't inside the car, Christina.
I know, I was trying to see open the lever.
Oh, she just wanted to see it.
I
Okay.
know that.
She knows that. She knows that. This is the pièce de résistance of this vehicle. It is a 6.2 liter HEMI V8 with this 2.4 liter supercharger on top of it. Huge supercharger. And that's how you get your 707 horsepower and 645 pound-feet of torque. The 5 pound-feet of torque less than the same engine in the Charger and Challenger Hellcat is basically just from a restricted exhaust system, and it's minimal. 5 pound-feet of torque. You're not going to notice that. What you will notice is that this weighs 5,300 pounds, so it's not a lightweight, but it still moves very, very quickly. So that is your beautiful engine, and it makes wonderful noises, of which I will be happy to show you if anyone asks me to rev it, or I mean, turn it on. Anyone want to ask me that? I'll do it anyway, but
Yeah,
just
you're gonna
get into the next question.
Okay. Is it really that fast from Garrett?
Is it really that fast? It's a fair question, because you're wondering if it's like all hype. No, it's very much not hype. It is that fast. I drove this in 2018. First, I got real excited when they were going to reveal it. Then I drove it in 2018 and it exceeded my expectations. It really blew me away. It is so quick, and the all-wheel drive system means that you get those consistent launches every single time, whereas the Charger and Challenger Hellcats, you know, they're going to spin their wheels. They're spinning their rear tires, which is understandable. There's so much power just going to 2 tires. This one, distributing it up between all 4 wheels, it gets those consistent launches, and it is stupid fast. It's fast mid-range, but is especially fast from a launch. And like I said, I'm going to show you that in a little bit. But yes, Garrett, it's not just hype. This is a seriously fast vehicle, and I've driven very fast vehicles.
Okay.
Should have brought my sunglasses.
From Kay. Oh,
Kay.
thanks, Kay, for returning. Favorite Mopar car?
Good question, Kay. Honestly, if I was just going to go buy one right now, which I couldn't, because I couldn't afford really any of them, but if I was going to go buy one right now, I would go get the car that I'm going to review in a couple weeks, which is the Charger Scat Pack. So the 392 HEMI V8s. It's the naturally aspirated one. It's not the supercharged one. I just think that is the best bang for your buck. You're getting so much power, 485 horsepower, and it's like 40 grand or something like that. It's like very low 40s. That is so much value in that performance, and it looks badass, and it drives so well as a, you know, straight line, comfortable cruiser, daily driver thing. That is my favorite Mopar vehicle right now. This is a close second though. This is pretty awesome. If you have people more than just yourself. Actually, you could take 5 people in the Charger too. That's why I like the Charger. You can take them in the Challenger, but I prefer 4 doors. I wish I had a manual, but there you go.
Okay. From Najer Williams. Sorry if I messed up your name. Very cool name. Have you driven a Viper?
Have I driven a Viper? Yes. And that's another, I mean, if they were still selling that, that would be pretty high on the list of Mopar vehicles. But I love the Viper. That was actually like my favorite car as a kid. I had a little model of a 2002 Viper. So I guess it was whatever, it was not the, it was the RT10? No, yeah, RT10? I'm not sure. But I had a model of that car, GTS, sorry, GTS. Viper GTS, blue with the white stripes. I love that car. I need to buy that car one day. I don't need to. I would love to buy that car one day. And I've driven the modern Viper. I drove a 2016 Viper, like same color as this actually, like a burgundy color with white stripes, on track, amazing. I think I have a video of that on my channel, so you can probably find it. Maybe it's been 2015, but it was wonderful. I love that experience, and it just looks so cool for an American-made car to stand out like that. This like ultra long hood and the very rear bias proportions. It's such a cool car, and yes, I have driven the Viper, and I loved it.
Okay. And I'm sorry, Josie Jo Matosta Rosa. I'm trying to read your Spanish. Some of it looks like a combination of maybe Portuguese, but I think they're saying glory to God.
Cool.
I'm not sure. But from Najer Williams, does the acceleration compare?
Compared to what? I'm not sure. You know, if we're gonna talk like what this competes against, like the BMW X5M, the Mercedes AMG GLE 63S, and the Porsche Cayenne Turbo SE Hybrid, it makes the most power. It has all-wheel drive like all those vehicles, but it gets to 60 like in a fraction of a second faster. So 3.5 seconds for this, 3.6 and 3.7 for those other cars that I mentioned. So the acceleration definitely compares, and I may be wrong. I think this is still the quickest SUV you can buy right now. It's certainly the most powerful SUV you can just go out there and buy, which is so cool. That's bragging rights, and this costs $88,000. So significantly less than those other vehicles I mentioned. The starting prices for those other cars are 115, 114, 160 for the Porsche. So it's a relative bargain. Granted, the interior quality is not going to be the same. Sorry, I'm turning this into the review. Watch the review for all those impressions, but the acceleration definitely compared. I'm just going to start the car up because I think that's what people want.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sorry I've waited so long to do that. Interesting to me. I'm going to break down what you're hearing. What you're hearing back here is definitely HEMI V8 noise. But what I hear up in the driver's seat is that supercharger whine. It's the spool and the buildup of the air in there. I hear the supercharger whine up there and the HEMI V8, so it's a nice little mixture.
Let's go in there.
Well, let's go in there. Good idea, Christina. And at some point we will drive this and I will show you how to sort of elicit that supercharger whine specifically and not dip too deeply into that V8 noise. But okay, so I'm gonna rev it. It's hard to hear still, you mostly hear the... Yeah, it's hard to piece out the supercharger whine just sitting here and revving it. But there's the induction in the beginning, and then the supercharger whine, and then the V8 just sort of like dominates everything else. But from the back, you're really only hearing that V8 noise. While we're sitting here in the cabin, point out a few things. This one has
we have more questions.
More questions?
Yeah.
Awesome. Ask me those questions.
Okay. Everyone is talking about the rev meter being laggy. Is that true?
Let's
From
find out.
Gaming Master X.
It is laggy. Like, this is me putting my foot on the throttle, and I have to wait almost a full second. Yeah. Show them the rev meter. Okay, so I'm going to tell you exactly when I put my foot down. 3, 2, 1. So I punched it, and it's like, it takes this thing a second to really blip up. So definitely laggy, agreed with that sentiment there. But the performance is definitely not laggy. When you punch it, when you're going on this in a straight line, it's not laggy. What else we got questions wise?
Okay. What type of brakes are those from Gaming Master X?
They are Brembo brakes. Let's show them. They're Brembo brakes, 6-piston front. Oh, fuck. So we've got 6-piston front brake calipers. These are slotted and 2-piece rotors, and they're 15.4 inches. I'm not exactly sure the spec on the rotors. But, so you've got the ventilation and these huge clamping 6-piston Brembos up front. Then we go to the rear. And there are 4-piston rear brake calipers clamping on 13-something inch rotors in the rear, also slotted so you have the good ventilation. These brakes are phenomenal. Seriously incredible brakes. which is much needed in a vehicle that weighs 5,300 pounds and makes this much power. You have to be able to stop it. And if you ever take this to a track, which is actually way more fun than you might think, you take it to a track, you're really gonna rely on those brakes to haul you down and help the car pivot a little bit in corners. And yeah, they're wonderful brakes. These wheels, also new for 2020, they're forged titanium aluminum 20-inch wheels in this gunmetal finish. I think they look great. This paint color, no one's asked about this yet, but it's a velvet red metallic. That's what they call it. It's basically a burgundy metallic. You can see a little bit of metal flake in it. Hard because it's not super bright sunlight today. But I'm not typically a burgundy car color fan, so I would not choose this option. You do have to pay extra for it. It's like $495, I believe. But I would just get a darker color personally, or white with the gunmetal would look good. What other questions do we have?
Okay. Well, Kay can't wait for the Hellcat minivan.
Is that going to happen? That would be amazing. That's probably just.
That might be the only minivan I would ever drive.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know. Minivans, like, they get a lot of hate. They're actually pretty fun, especially if you get the Pentastar V6. They're kind of fun. And okay, Christina says no.
Okay.
I agree, the looks are not there, but they're.
Williams wanted you to turn it on, and he did.
Okay.
Gaming Master X, the Challenger's launch has a system that will make the wheels spin.
That will make the wheel spin?
That
Yeah.
won't.
Oh, won't. Okay. Yeah, because there is a system that makes the wheel spin that's line lock, but then yes, they do have a system where it will lock up the wheels. The problem with that system, again, still the rear-wheel drive versus all-wheel drive. All-wheel drive, you just have the function of 4 wheels spinning at the same time and getting the same amount of power. So even if and they do have to do this with the launch control system in this one, they're limiting the power that they're distributing into each 4 wheels. They have to limit it less than they would in the Challenger and Charger, where they have to limit more of the power because you're only putting 2 wheels getting power to the ground. So that you're absolutely right that there is that system to limit the power to get it to launch well. And I should have mentioned that. That's a great point. But it bogs it more than it does in this vehicle, which is why the acceleration for this is so good and so comparable to those cars, despite the fact that it weighs more. The all-wheel drive system is to credit for that.
Okay.
Hope that made sense.
And hi to Debris Zarev in New York.
Hello.
He
Thanks
likes
for tuning
the
in.
Jeep.
Me too.
And from Kay, GM or Mopar?
Well, yeah, that's not even a question. Sorry, Mopar. I'm a Mopar guy. I like the philosophy of kind of classic, just power, and GM is trying to do a lot of different things. The Camaro, don't get me wrong, it handles amazingly well. It's a veritable sports car with classic muscle car power. But I love the fact that Dodge is sort of like, they don't care. They don't care what you want it to be. It's just that muscle car that it's always been. It's hurt them a little bit in sales, unfortunately, but I'm a Mopar guy. All right, show them the front a little bit. I don't know if we showed that much.
And inside.
And inside, yes. So heat extractors on the hood here, very similar to the Charger and Challenger Hellcat. They're pulling all that hot air out of the engine bay. A lot of ventilation here for the radiators, venting here. This is real functional venting down there. You've got the classic Jeep 7-slat grille in a metallic finish border.
Okay.
What other questions do we have? By the way, it's a plug and I'm going to do it, but if you want your question to kind of be highlighted, you can help us out and support the channel and contribute, and then your comment's highlighted and it stays up there up top so Christina won't have to go hunting for it. Just to put it out there.
From Najir Williams, he was just clarifying that. Does the acceleration compare to the Viper?
Okay. The Viper's acceleration, I can't off the top of my head remember. I know it's below 4 seconds, the 0 to 60, but that's again, and the Viper doesn't have launch control. It's a manual only car, or at least I think it was until they added towards the later part of its lifespan, they did add an automatic transmission option to it, but it didn't have launch control and was only rear-wheel drive. So, despite the fact that it weighed significantly less than this, the acceleration time was probably very similar, maybe even less, or maybe even, sorry, more time, therefore not as impressive as this, because you got all-wheel drive and launch control. All right, let's show them the inside because we didn't spend a lot of time in there.
Okay, does this compete with the Urus?
In loose terms, yes. So the Urus Lamborghini, 640 horsepower, I believe. And if I got that wrong, I really apologize. But it's significantly more expensive. It's $200 and something thousand. It is their entry-level model now, or their mainstream, like highest sales volume model. But it does compete with this in terms of just high output SUVs. The Urus has a higher top speed than this, I believe. I think that may be the fastest SUV in the world. This is the quickest still, though. And yeah, so it does compete, but the Urus is a completely different experience. The styling is very Lamborghini, very sharp, aggressive, and you are paying significantly more for it. And it's a V10, so there's only a HEMI V8, only a HEMI V8. Just gonna mention it. There's the space in this vehicle is pretty good. It is a Grand Cherokee after all. If you fold all the seats down, you've got 74 cubic feet of space, I believe. I'm wrong, 68 cubic feet of space. So, you know, a significant amount of space for you to carry furniture or, you know, supply store runs, whatever you need. And these rear seats, there's a fair amount of space in them. So that's my driving position. I'm 6 feet tall and I have leg room. I've got a fair amount of leg room.
Let me see.
Okay. They're big
You're
foot
not
pockets.
making things up.
I'm not making things up. They're big foot pockets, so I can fit my feet under there easily, and I have some leg room. I don't feel these seats can actually recline as well. How do I do that? With these things here. So, look how far that reclines. That's luxury. No, but this is really nice. So you can really kind of relax back here. I wouldn't mind more leg room, but then I wouldn't mind more leg room in any car. So this is totally acceptable for 4 full-size adults. And then if you want to put that 5th full-size adult in here, we can totally make it work. I would need these seats to be at the same level of recline to actually be comfortable. Okay, so if the full bench is at the same level of recline, I can fit in here comfortably. 2 other full-size adults can fit in side by side with me with no problems. I didn't mention that this one has, among the options list, the Laguna leather package. So it's softer leather and it's leather all over the place. So there's leather like on this center console portion back here where there wouldn't be, and it's stitched. There's leather in the center console portion up there and on below the steering wheel where there's never, that's always plastic in these vehicles, but there's leather there. So it kind of hides the FCA parts bin stuff a little bit, but there's still going to be scratchy plastic. It's still a Jeep. It's not a luxury vehicle. It's a Jeep posing as a luxury vehicle, but it gets the job done, for sure. What other questions do we have?
Oh, let me guess at them.
Okay. Big panel sunroof.
Oh.
I mean, it's not that big. It's a big panel sunroof. It's not massive. It's not gonna break any records.
Okay. So Gaming Master X is commenting that the Cayenne Coupe Turbo S, my nearby market seller, has one and I test drove it, claimed to be 3.4 seconds to 60.
Dang.
It had the lightweight package, so it makes 3.4. If you had no lightweight, it would have done a 3.6 or 7.
Well, so I didn't know that the lightweight package makes that much of a difference in terms of acceleration. I'd be interested in learning more about that. I do know out of the box, you know, if you don't get that package, just bare bones Trackhawk to Cayenne Turbo SE Hybrid, this is going to be quicker on paper. Really, they're all just, if you're getting below 4 seconds in an SUV to 60, what's a tenth here and there? That's like crazy fast regardless. But they're all impressive SUVs. But for $88,000, this is that's a heck of a deal. This one, as I'm tested, is $101,000 because it has those options, some of which I mentioned, including the pano sunroof. But still, that doesn't even come close to the $115,000 and above from those other vehicles.
All right, I think we should get driving. But
Yes,
there are
get driving.
There are 3 more questions.
Okay.
Kind of. Gaming Master X again believes that a smoked silver would be better with the metal wheels.
I like that.
And then they said that in late 2020 they will put the Challenger's engine in it. I'm guessing that's for the minivan.
Oh wow, that would be so impressive. I would love to see that. I wonder if those plans are not on hold. Sorry, I'm yelling still because I thought I was outside. I'm wondering if those plans are not on hold during all the coronavirus pandemic issues. So I wonder if that's still going to happen. But I had not even heard that rumor or that bit of news, so that's cool.
And then from Leroy, this thing has such good gas mileage.
Yes, Leroy, it definitely has awesome gas mileage. I'm glad you brought that up, though. It's 11 city MPG in a brand new vehicle. That is so bad. The highway is 17, but that means that the average is, do you need AC?
Yeah.
Christina needs air. The average combined, too loud, is 13. I've gone through a tank of fuel so fast and I've not driven it that far, but we're not gonna rant about that anymore. Your fuel economy, who cares? Because when you do this, you stop thinking about anything else. Downshift second and punch it. So that's fast. And you can really now hear the supercharger when I'm punching it. But okay, I talked earlier about how you elicit the supercharger noise out of this. And that's really by tipping into the throttle and not fully mashing it. If you mash the throttle, you get a lot of V8 grunts. But if you just tip in, I have to go to a lower speed to do that. And a higher gear and tip in. You hear the whine? It's nice. It's nice. I like that noise. Oh good, we're coming to a stoplight, which means that I'm going to do what everyone has asked since the beginning, and I'm going to launch it. And I will show you the way to do that.
Okay, didn't even know about the minivan. It was just a joke.
Okay, so,
Oh.
You cut me off, Christina.
Sorry.
No, I'm just kidding. But I'm not going to keep these people held up to launch it. But the next red light I get to, I will absolutely launch it. The way you do the launch, just so we can cut through to it when we're actually going to be launching, is there's a button down here. You press that, it says launch, and then a display prompt will show up and it'll say, give me full brake pressure or apply brake pressure. You then do that with your left foot, applying brake pressure, and then full throttle at the same time. So when you have that full brake pressure applied, you also mash the throttle, and then you lift off the brake kind of as soon as you want. And you've already set in here what RPM it's going to hold the revs at a certain RPM. You can set it between 2,000 and I think 3,500 RPM, and that is going to then hold it at that RPM and release it, and you will then be changing up your gears from there. I have not been able to fine tune it enough, and I've not done enough research to know, the precise RPM that I should be leaving it at. I think I've left it at. So I'm gonna go into the performance pages and I will see, now we're at a red light, so I would in theory be able to launch it, assuming that red light is green by the time we get through this. Performance pages. Here. It takes a long time to load. Seriously. Like, to wait this long for something to happen is so annoying. Apart from this, the infotainment is pretty quick. All right, so now we're here. I'm gonna go to home. What was I doing? I was looking SFT dashboard. Okay, so now you can choose where you want the launch control to start from. I'm gonna have it start from 2,500 RPM. Maybe it would launch faster actually. Let's go to 2,800 RPM. So what I've done now, it's gonna be green soon. Hit the launch button. Up here it's saying apply full throttle after I've applied brake pressure. So we'll wait till it's green. Apply full throttle and launch. That was 60. That is vicious. That is absolutely vicious.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for
Christina wasn't ready. Thank goodness these headrests are cushy, because she had to absorb the blow of having her head thrown back into the seat. But that is so vicious, and it can do it anytime you want, assuming within reason that you're driving. Just, wait for a red light and just launch it, and you don't have to go all the way up to 60 miles per hour. You can just launch it till 30, but you can do it anytime you want, and it will do that repeatedly every single time within, like tenths of seconds precision. I love that. And there's also, within the performance pages, there's so much data recording, so you can see what was my last launch time, what's my quarter mile, what's my eighth of a mile, all that. If you like drag racing, you can have that data in here in your performance page. And that's probably the coolest part, apart from the performance. The coolest part about the interior is just being able to look at all the data, and the active feedback from it is pretty cool. Okay, so
We have a few more questions.
A few more questions.
How about we flip around, we'll answer those in the middle. We'll call it there.
Okay.
Okay. So does it handle well at all from Najir Williams?
It definitely does handle well. They did good work with the suspension tuning, and the ride quality is very soft, and I think a couple things play into that. It's the fact that there is actually sidewall in the tire. They're not huge wheels with tiny little sidewall, and then these seats are super cushy, but the ride quality is it's a mix between firmness that you want from a stiff chassis in a performance vehicle and daily driver usability. So I think the ride quality is really good, but how that plays into handling, it's not the sharp corner carver of a supercar, but it does definitely, it works with you. This electronic steering rack is okay. It's not the best, certainly. It's responsive. The turn-in is pretty quick. There's not a ton of feedback through it, and I think that's my critique of it. There's not a whole lot of feedback, but because of the all-wheel drive system, it finds a way to manufacture grip in most scenarios in corners. And the only mode on here that's going to turn off the traction control is track, and you really should only use that on the track. But in all other scenarios, you can leave it in sport, and the handling is really very, very good. You can feel the weight of the vehicle. There's no getting around the fact that it is over 5,000 pounds, and it's not quite as sharp as I would say the X5M is, for example, but it's very comparable to the GLE 63, a vehicle that I will have very soon to review for you guys, so look forward to that. Oh, I missed the red light to be able to launch it again.
From Yuri, how loud?
How loud? That loud. That loud every time. Every time you put your foot down, it's that loud.
Okay. We have a couple just comments from Pramash Pavaskar.
Prathamesh, what's up?
Yeah, cool. And then Crystal Shiflet says, dang, that thing sounds nice.
It does.
Gaming Master X3, 3,200 RPM is very good for quick acceleration.
There you go. Well, then I'll set it at that for the next launch.
Okay, does the Trackhawk come with the black key like the Hellcat?
It does. So you can, the black key, for those who don't know, is a way of limiting the horsepower to 500. So with the red key that I have right here, that says Trackhawk on it, you have access to all 707 horsepower. But the black key you might give to a valet, for example. You can actually also enter a valet mode in this, so it's going to limit the power output. But if you give them the black key, there's only 500 horsepower at their disposal. Still stupid amounts of power, but there's only 500 horsepower. So yes, there is a black key just like the Hellcat.
And that's it?
That is it. Well, guys, see if we can't put together one more launch for you. But that's going to be it for this video. We've got a runway here. This looks pretty good.
Oh,
All right.
the string?
Yeah, it's fine. Launch, no one behind me, no one around. Apply full brake pressure. And do you want to see what it looks like on here? Okay.
No.
And apply full throttle. Release. And I did that one for Gaming Master. I did that one at 3,200 RPM release. I don't know if it was faster, but
I don't know.
it all just feels fast anyway.
But he says, thank you guys so much.
All right, thank you guys for watching, and we will have yet another live Q&A next week, Saturday, same time. What vehicle are we going to have? Well, I guess we have to follow on Instagram to find out. Hint, hint. Thanks, guys. Have a good rest of your weekend.